Hello and welcome. You're watching yet another edition of YES101's Visual Radio. I'm Theruni Karunaratne. Let's start off with this afternoon's top stories.
News First headline.
Making headlines in local news, a Sri Lanka Mahajana Party pledges support for Ranil Wickremesinghe in presidential race. Namal meets Sumantiran, discuss political situation. Former Minister Vijayamuni Soisa to support Ranil Wickremesinghe. Man found dead in three-wheeler in Bambalapitiya. In news overseas, Chinese rockets breakup puts over 1,000 satellites and other objects at risk. And in sports, it's tennis, Tsitsipas halts coaching partnership with father. On to those stories in detail now. The Sri Lanka Mahajana Party has pledged its support for President Ranil Wickremesinghe in the upcoming presidential election. Party leader Sanka Navaratne explained that although there were initial proposals to field a candidate from within the party, after thorough discussions, the decision was made to support one of the major candidates already in the race. He said that in his personal view, an election is not currently necessary for Sri Lanka. However, he acknowledged that in accordance with the constitution, an election must be held. Despite their personal perspectives and party policies, the Sri Lanka Mahajana Party has resolved to back President Ranil Wickremesinghe to ensure his continued leadership. He added that while the party does not view Ranil Wickremesinghe as the sole path forward for Sri Lanka, they consider him the most viable option at this time. Meanwhile, former Minister Vijayamuni Soisa has announced his support for President Ranil Wickremesinghe in the upcoming presidential election. Now, he affirmed his willingness to make an active contribution to the campaign. Previously, Vijayamuni Soisa was actively involved in politics with the Samagi Janabala Begaya. Now, in more local news, Tamil National Alliance parliamentarian M.A. Sumantiran met with Namal Rajapaksa, the presidential candidate of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. They met at parliamentarian Sumantiran's residence in Colombo. Sagara Karyavasam, the General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, also attended this meeting. The discussion focused on Sri Lanka's current state of affairs and political situation. MP Sumantiran told Newsfirst that Namal Rajapaksa expressed his intention to engage in further discussions with the Tamil National Alliance. Meanwhile, a body of a man has been discovered in a three-wheeler in Colombo, Fo. According to the police, the deceased was a 61-year-old resident of Narahinpita. They identified him as the driver of this three-wheeler. A post-mortem is to be performed to determine the cause of death. Let's now take a look at international news.
International news.
A Chinese rocket stage that broke apart in space this week created more than 700 pieces of debris, putting over 1,000 satellites and other objects in a high-traffic region of the Earth's orbit at risk of hazardous collisions. Now, according to reports, China's state-owned Shanghai Spacecom Satellite Technology, or SST, launched 18 internet satellites into orbit on Tuesday as the inaugural batch of a communications network that will challenge SpaceX's vast Starlink constellation. The upper rocket stage that carried those satellites into orbit appeared to explode soon after deploying its payloads, creating a growing field of debris that US space tracking firms estimate to be at least 700 pieces so far. Let's now take a look at your sports news.
Sports news.
And in sports, it's tennis. Former world number 3 Stefanos Tsitsipas says his father Apostolos will no longer be his coach. The 25-year-old from Greece, who was ranked 11th in the world, was critical of his father's coaching methods after losing to Japan's former world number 4 Kei Nishikori in the second round of the Canadian Open on Thursday. Now, Tsitsipas, announcing the end of the coaching partnership, said the decision to let this chapter and this phase close was taken by mutual agreement. Well, that brings to a close this edition of YES101's Visual Radio. For the News First team, I'm Theruni Karunaratne. Thank you for watching.